The penultimate person, disabled students officer is opposed. It is this brother who's going to speak on it, or it's going to be reopen nominations. So let him speak for 3 minutes, and then you can ask him. No, you don't need No, I mean, sorry, go back. Any vote is not going to be uncontested that we're not doing today. If it's basically unfilled, you have a by-election, blah, 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 in May. Could you please start your conversation? You've got 3 minutes.
First of all, I want to apologise. I'm not the best presentation well. My name is Thomas Ankin, and I'm running for the position of Disabled Students Officer. And I've been working within the current position at my own college, which is Goldsmiths. And this has enabled me to get an insight on how disability affects students, both on a local and a national level. On a national level, I've helped my students' union to mobilise disabled students for the national demos in November and the TUC demo in October. I've also aided our students' union by mobilising disabled students on our local campaigns, such as the St Lucia A&E, which gathered a total of 25,000 participants on the Freedom March in January. Disabled people are some of the most vulnerable individuals in society, yet they are one of the most affected groups of individuals that are hit by the cuts. These cuts are pushing disabled people into poverty and isolation, which is not acceptable. I therefore do not support any further cuts from the government to our welfare system, and will happily give my time and effort to support any proposed anti-cuts campaigns. I also do not support the government's decision to implement the new PIP system, which will reduce the amount of disabled individuals who will receive support. The number of disabled people committing suicide because they do not believe that they can cope anymore is on the increase. These individuals are not statistics, they are people. We have a responsibility to stand up and fight for those who don't have the ability to do so. As the ULU Disabled Students Officer, I want to build better relationships with the disability officers in the other University of London unions. If we work together as a collective union, we will be able to maximise the effects of the campaigns that we're working on. These officers have been working on their own with limited support for too long, and it's about time that changed. My personal aims for the next year are to tackle the stigma that surrounds disability, and this can be achieved by connecting with other SUs to work together to provide sufficient information on the topic of disability and different types of disabilities. I also have a personal project where I want to encourage disabled participation in sports, and I want to encourage all universities of London to increase their awareness of the restrictions that disabled students encounter when it comes to sport. I've actually written far too much here, so I just want to say I guarantee that I'll give my time and effort to ensuring that I will achieve all of my aims and beyond, but thank you for this.
That we're late, my fault, nobody else, etc. We're going to have the LGBT person next, and then we're going to have Camilla who's going to speak on behalf of community and housing. Remember, part-time post is only 2 minutes. That's why I've only given you 2 minutes. I apologize. Yeah, let the next. I'm going to take the next 2 people, and then we'll ask collective questions. Otherwise, we're going to physically get thrown out of the room. Thank you. You've got 2 minutes. Take a deep breath.
Yeah. Apologies, comes out the goal.
Not a problem. You have 2 minutes and take your time.
Hi, I'm Andrew Person. I'm second year philosophy student at UCL. I've been on the committee, the LGBT plus committee at UCL for the past year, and have been involved in organising various things through there and trying to widen the scope of participation that it has. As lots of LGBT plus societies are traditionally very club focused, which appeals to certain people, but not everyone. I'm looking to not get rid of clubs, but to widen sort of the scope of activities that actually happen in these societies. I have 4 main things that I want to do if I get elected. First of which is to organise awareness campaigns in ULU. Obviously, awareness of the various issues which LGBT plus people face sort of isn't applied in 1 in 5 homeless youth is LGBT. It's a massive issue. It's vaguely swept under the rug. And there's lots of other issues such as sort of sexual health, which is just very important to get out of people, such as PEP or various diseases.
1 minute.
Ooh.
It's okay, no.
I also want to work with the other liberation officers to create a safe spaces policy for ULU, which it currently doesn't have. And I guess some of us have seen tonight it would be a very helpful thing to have sort of how this would be dealt with, what's okay, what's not okay. It's important to have. Also start a campaign within ULU, clearly accessible and signposted gender neutral toilets. Doesn't currently have one. Massive access issue within ULU for many non-binary and binary trans people. It's not accessible in the slightest in terms of safety and like comfort, not adequate at all. And lastly, I want to work with the various groups around University of London to sort of connect the events that they run.
Fine, please.
Okay.
The next speaker is Hannah Webb, speaking on behalf of Community and Housing Post. Like the last two posts, this is a part-time post. She will speak for just about 2 minutes, more or less. Please listen to her, and then at the end I'm going to allow a group of questions. So, Hannah, if you're ready, you're up.
So I'm Hannah Webb. I think I've already made myself heard. So I'm running for community and housing. I'm already the UCLU community officer, and basically very, very similar ideas to what I've been working on, what I wanted to do last year, and what I'm kind of getting towards, and want to continue to work on. We've got a housing crisis. Like, I can't afford my rent. I'm looking at the next 2 rents and going, I'm going to have to spend less than £5 a day if I want to afford my rent without failure. Like, rent is too high. Halls were just as bad. But at least in some halls, some of the conditions are all right. But you go to my flat and like there's mould everywhere, and like everywhere, and they just paint it over, and you don't know what to do. And you kind of hear these like distant stories of like students suing their landlords and paying all their money back for the whole year. But like, how do you do that? When can you do that? Why are they taking your deposit? Like all of those things we need to know. I want to publish regular material, regular reliable material on like how you can do this, and work with other students around this. I also think it's important to link together shared campaigns. I'm part of a group called, I work with other anti-parks activists on my campus and nationally, but actually what's really important for me is that we need to have more London-wide organising, because it's all very well to organise nationally on your campus, but like when someone's like half an hour on the train or 10 minutes walk down the road, and it kind of makes sense to organise with them as well. And finally, just as I'm doing at UCL, like UCL is currently like doing like appalling things. It's one of the biggest. It is one of the biggest, one of the richest universities in University of London, and for that reason we need to like really like keep like of all colleges, need to really keep a check on like what the most powerful university, like how they're screwing over people, and they are screwing over people because they're trying to build a campus in Stratford where evict 700 people in order to like build somewhere where there are people living, when they could easily build somewhere there aren't people living. That is time. My name's
all the candidates who are physically in the building. If anybody else is a candidate, anything part-time or full-time, please come forward, let me know. I have apologies here from Jen Keenan, who was in the front row earlier. The brother did ask a question, I believe, so you may have recognized him. But for any of you who are not sure, I believe Mr. Keenan is running for a post that currently is not contested, which means...
No, it is contested.
Jamie Green. Jamie Green, sorry, I finished. Jamie Green could not make it either, so if possible, we'll work out a situation where you could either ask them questions, etc., but basically neither of them are here at the moment, as far as I know. Okay, I'm going to allow a group of questions to all of the last three candidates. If you wouldn't mind, just come up Could I first have the disabled student officer division? Then I would like the LGBT representative for division. Yeah, go on. Okay, do you want to? Okay. I would like you to keep this very clear. We have only got, I'm only going to allow 10 minutes more questions. So I want a question and preference to anybody who's not spoken. Hands, please. Somebody else. Anybody hasn't asked a question so far? Last offer. Okay, let's have the Holloway sister first. And Dr. Bingo, it's very brief. Go.
What we just do about consideration disabled campaign, because last week we ran a session on ULU and at university they've done some other consideration campaigns. So what do you answer?
We currently also do that at Goldsmiths. So at Goldsmiths we try and interlink and look at intersectionality between everything. I personally would encourage it by not just spending my time contacting only the disabled students officers, but also the other liberation officers. For example, there could be a woman who goes to see her woman's officer who has a disability but isn't aware of her disability officer. And if we do conjoined events, that allows them to find the other options they've got there, the other liberation officers that are available to them.
Thank you for the answer. Anybody on this side who's not asked a question before? Okay. Could I have Thomas? And it has to be a quick question, please. Then you can go next, and then the brother at the back. So basically, you, and you must be a question, not. Okay.
What sort of external activities you can do for disabled students?
Thank you.
External. Well, I think the first thing that we actually need to do is actually internal. I think the problem that we have at the moment is participation. I mean, for example, look at this. I'm a disabled students officer and I've got no one running against me. Every year in Goldsmiths, for example, either no one runs or only one person runs. So there's a lot of activities, and I did have them all written down, but I didn't. So, for example, I've been speaking to Daniel before, like I really want to encourage disability in sport, and I'm currently in the process of organising a wheelchair basketball tournament. So it's things like this where I want to be able to get people who are both disabled and able-bodied involved. So not only having fun, but also raising awareness and being able to raise money as well for good things.
I'm not just talking about physically disabled, I'm about mentally disabled as well.
Oh no, sorry, right. I'm just one example that I have. Like we work, I work very closely with Time to Change, and I'm actually doing a documentary with the BBC at the moment on young people between 16 and 25 living with mental health. So actually, I do quite a bit myself, and I'm trying to encourage more people to talk about it and go around and do things with it.
Thank you for your answer. I believe we have Michael next.
I was going to ask the mental health question that always gets asked to every disabled student officer candidate ever. I think you kind of covered it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. In the back, sorry. Yes. You first, and then we'll come to go.
Okay. Like most ULL students, I'm sure I'm a regular tube user, and I think one of the biggest problems that you see, you look at the tube map of those, probably less than a third probably have the disabled side.
Yeah.
You would be representing up to 140,000 students. I personally believe your biggest priority should be working with TfL to increase the number of disabled sort of access to tube stations. How would you go about doing this, and is this something that you considered?
Well, actually, it's something we've already started. We had our student assembly about 4 weeks ago. I got co-opted into the position, so I didn't start at the beginning of the year. I've actually only been in the position for about 2 months. And one of the first motions that we was against TfL and its partners. The person who actually does the job share with me has a guide dog, visually impaired, and obviously has issues with TfL. I've been working with my current president in Goldsmiths, who's looking at ways of doing this. And I think the biggest problem we have is not always facilities, but it's also the training and the awareness. Like, for example, if there's 3 escalators, you're actually meant to have one of them turned off. Because, for example, a guide dog can't go up an escalator unless it's had specific training to do so, and that's why they've got that. But then you turn up, you see the escalators and they're turned on. And it's not necessarily because they don't, it's just because they don't know. And I've had to go all the way up the escalator before to tell them to turn it off, which they have to close it for to make sure no one else is on, to go down to help her back up again, and they just turn it on again. You know, so it's not, I think facilities are an issue, but first of all, we need to get people to realise why they're doing things wrong before we can actually tackle the facilities.
Thank you for your answer, and it was amazing. I've actually learned something new today, so It's been worth staying this late. Is there anybody on this side, just for the balance before I let the brother ask the question? Anybody this side who's not spoken? Yes? No? Maybe? Sister, would you like to ask questions?
So you
No? Okay, you want to ask?
So you said that I was going to be...
Yeah, you will be. I want to try and make it a left and right thing. Not pushing. Hannah, just on what you just said.
The government's about to introduce a housing tax, rental tax, which I'm sure you know about, but to clarify that, like carers, so if people are married and your partner has a disability, a physical disability, and it's impossible for you to share a bed with them because you won't sleep, then you're not allowed to have separate rooms because it's a spare room. Do you have any plans to campaign on that?
To be honest, if we were to talk about it, we'd need another question time with you for ages. In all honesty, I don't think there's a single piece of common sense that has gone into that legislation whatsoever. Because it also works in the other way round, where if you have an external carer that stays a couple of days a week, for example, they need a room. You know, where do they stay? But then they're still being taxed for that. You know, so really, I would like to actually for someone to sit down and not just tell me what's going to happen, but why. I really wanted someone to tell me why. So yeah, actually, I do want to campaign against it. But I think before I start campaigning, I want to hear the reason why.
Thank you for answering that question. And the last question or comment is in the back row. Keep it brief, please.
Yeah.
I know this stuff.
So you've spoken a lot about outward campaigning and lobbying government action thing, which is cool. So my question is, how are you going to, in the facing, how are you going to make new students, freshers, or perhaps mature students aware of their rights in terms of the educational parameters in which they work? So for instance, I came to university, it took me 6 months to realise that actually there were certain things that I was entitled to as a disabled student. How are you going to make students more aware when they come to university that they have these rights and these accessibility parameters?
Well, I think well, for a start, it's a good point, because I also didn't know. When I first arrived at university, it took me 6 months to figure out where the disability office was. Yeah. You know, and I think one thing that we've actually started in our own university, Goldsmiths, is the disability team. For a start, they've got a stall in Freshers. We've got all the information. I also got to a point where I send out an introduction email. This introduction email obviously gets sent out to any person who registers on the disability team, and also to any new person. We work hand in hand with the Welfare and Diversity Officer, so our campaigns and our information is spread out, but also we put the information in the Freshers pack, you know, because, you know, people may not go to Freshers Fair, they probably stay after the week drinking, so by the time it gets to Freshers Fair, they're all hanging in there. So we need to get the information to them as quickly as possible, and as efficiently as possible. And when you first join up as a fresher, do you really check your emails? You know, you get loads of emails, introduction emails, and by the time you got to the fourth or fifth one, you're just presuming that the next one is going to say the same thing in different terms. So we're trying to give it to them in a hard way. And I think if we tackle this issue from more than one front, so not just from the university's disabled students officer, but also from ULU as well, we're backing up what we're saying on that. So I think it's really important that not just the disabled students officer gets involved in this, all liberation officers get involved in this, and all other officers as well.
Thank you for your contribution. Thomas, sit down. You can sit down. Please give it up for the LGBT officer. Okay, no, just basically, I want you to just ask simple questions and keep it brief. Hannah is after this, and then we're done. Okay, just ask quick questions to these candidates, please. Anybody who's not spoken, ask questions so far? Hands? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, would you like to add anything? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Do you think that the LGBT campaign should be a political campaigning effort?
Yeah. Issues like don't just exist in a bubble within the real world. The real world's political. It's not really. It's not you.
Thank you. for that, would you like to ask a question, please, and specifically on this posting thing?
How do you go about communicating with people what the class means generally?
A lot of it's through. Yeah. A lot of it's through getting people who are sort of not plus sort of thing. Through the people that are genuinely marginalised, like having sort of organising their own events sort of with our help obviously to raise awareness, such as at UCL working with our asexual rep on the Asexual Awareness Week. We're holding various events with leaflets around campus to try and get more awareness, because most people haven't even heard of asexuality and they don't know what it is. So it'll be primarily through sort of awareness campaigns that includes sort of just general posters for fun, but also very much led by the people that are beyond the plus initially.
Thank you. Is there anybody on this side of the room who has not asked a question before, who would like to ask a question to the officer? Okay, we really do need to move on now, guys. I will allow, you can ask a question. Yeah. On this issue only. And this post, sorry. So on this
on you, I'm trying to bend the rules and ask a question that relates to maybe the women's officers as well. You mentioned something, I'd say it's not an issue I've heard of before today, which is probably my ignorance rather than anything else, and this thing about mixed gender lavatories. And do you think all lavatories should be mixed gender? Is that right? What do you?
Yes, I think there should be gender-neutral toilets that anyone can be used, which is like the toilets you have in your home are gender-neutral toilets.
Yeah.
You don't have.
Well, so when there's single cubicles, obviously don't need.
That's how they often.
Okay, I thought you were suggesting that all lavatories should be gender-neutral, which I don't think would be very popular with. Certainly the vast majority of female students. So I was wrong.
Let the officer answer the question.
You don't.
Guys, you're nearly done. Don't worry, we're almost there.
I'm not going to abolish trade female toilets, but there's no safety issue anyway. They're widely used in many places, and research shows they're not. We have them at UCL.
Thank you for your contribution. Lastly, Hannah, if you want to add anything to your statement, please do so now. Just to sum up anything. Just speak from the floor.
It was only a couple of minutes ago.
Okay, this is Hannah. That's basically, Hannah, just add those things you now. Okay, cool. I would like just a quick fire question. You can freestyle. I'm going to just point at people. The brother in the lady in the back row has asked a question. Go.
Do you think people who can't afford rent for like their housing should get a part-time job?
Yeah.
What's funny about that?
I couldn't hear the first bit.
Do you think people who can't afford their rent should get a part-time job to pay for it? I've had to have part-time jobs in school. I do a part-time job outside university now, and it helps me pay for rent. I have no problem with it, and I think anyone who sneers at it is quite frankly being no-inverted snobs.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, so there's a number of problems with this. The first, really obvious one is that there is a complete lack of jobs. There are way more people looking for jobs than there are jobs for people, and that means that people don't get jobs. That's the first problem with it. The second problem with it is that people have certain commitments. Some people may be carers, some people may have children, some people may have mental health issues, and not everyone can afford to take time out of their study in order to have a part-time job. That actually feeds into wider issues about why does my student loan not cover my rent? Why does it not cover my rent plus bills? And why painting halls, like with the like strange assumption that like I might want, like why would I not want it? Why would I want to eat on weekends? Like why would I think that? Like people can't always get part-time jobs, either lack of not lack of being able to, or like just because they're not there. And so yeah.
Excellent, thank you, Hannah. Can I have this 30-second summary from the London student candidates, and then we're going to have 30 seconds for the others, and then we're going to... Oh, please. Okay, cool, we'll go to the last one, sorry. You know what I just said. Let Thomas ask the question. Sorry, Thomas.
I work for Centrepoint Housing Homeless Charity, and I've been working really closely with Phoenix Housing Association, so I just wanted to give you my number to sorry. I believe you're going to hand up, so I'll make it quick, please.
I would ask what your position was on squatting, and whether you think there should be something that we support as a union, or whether we should be finding viable alternatives to make sure that is the last resort, and that we don't have to be in a position where we have to support units, students that are squatting, and instead find alternatives to that situation.
Thank you for that question.
I think there should be alternatives. I don't think people who should be under like financial obligation to squat. There should be alternatives. Like, frankly, like my landlord has like 50 properties across London. Like, I pay like a ridiculous amount to live in a moulded flat. Why am I paying that? Because like he happens to have more money than I do. Great. No, it's not. People squat because they have to. Generally, people don't squat because they go, oh, you know what? There's really good value housing there, but I can easily afford. But I want to live in somewhere that's unsecure and.
Sorry, I feel like you've answered my question. Instead of the union sitting back and letting that situation develop and saying, well, provide legal support if you do end up as a squatter, how are you going to intervene to make sure, A, they don't even end up squatting? And how do you make sure that the union is giving up a position that says, we aren't going to be there to support you to leave you squatting because we would rather you to have our alternatives, which are A, B, C, D, E, F. Like, do you see what I mean?
Okay. So, like, I would really, really, really like it if we could find alternatives. Like that would be like the most amazing thing ever. That like students who leave university and for one reason or another can't go and live with their parents. Like it happens, and probably still got a housing benefit and can't afford it. Like that would be really great, and I would really, really, really like that to happen. If we're going to be able to achieve that or not, I don't know. I think we need to have advice out there. We need to go like, if you have a problem, this is a shelter. I'd like to put that advice out there. I think that advice isn't always like the kind of final solution. It isn't always a viable solution, and therefore, like squatting is also something that that people will end up doing because the world isn't perfect, and if they're doing that, then I think we should be there for that.
Excellent. Thank you for your answer. I'm sorry. I'm going to select a couple of candidates answer that contribution, but we are really out of time. So please feel free to chill out and ask each other informally. Remember, we are